Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and for the last week, I've been driving the 2026 Nissan Kicks SR. Up front is a 2.0 liter inline 4, and down below is a CVT. Now, I am super excited to be making this video here today because I really do appreciate the Nissan Kicks, what it does in the market, and just how it operates as a product. And I think this is a really good buy, especially around that $30,000 mark. As you're seeing, this is $35,000, but this is going to have all the bells and whistles. You can spec them in the low 30s, high 20s. So I think it's a pretty affordable vehicle in today's market, and I'm excited to share it with you here today. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 2-liter inline 4 under the hood. Well, it makes 141 horsepower, and it isn't really anything special. You'll also find the same engine in the Nissan Sentra, although that does make 8 more horsepower, so if you're really looking to remake the Fast and Furious, head on over to the Sentra. But it's a fine power plant, it doesn't use a turbo, and it doesn't have their gimmicky variable compression technology, so this should be a pretty reliable engine down the road. Now, like I said, paired to it is a CVT. And I know saying CVT is a bit of a swear word here on the internet. Nissan has had a lot of issues with their CVTs in the past. That's unavoidable. However, everything I've looked at, the reliability of their recent models has pointed in the direction of positivity. It looks like they are improving the reliability of their CVTs and have been doing so over the last few years, but it's hard to tell because any new product is going to perform well for the first few years. It's only really 10, 12, 15 years down the road that we learn about their shortcomings. And so far it looks good, and I hope Nissan continues that way. Last but not least, about the drivetrain, this particular Nissan Kicks is all-wheel drive. You can find them in front-wheel drive, and the previous generation, the first generation Nissan Kicks, was never available with all-wheel drive. So that is new for the 2025 and up model year, and we have it here in the 26. How does it feel to drive the Nissan Kicks? It's a pretty bland and boring driving experience. The engine is fine, it has decent enough power, but it won't knock your socks off in any way. It doesn't have this crazy chassis rigidity and handling experience. It's very straightforward. The one big advantage of the Nissan Kicks over the Sentra is that it is a higher vehicle. It just sits higher off the ground, and so you sit higher in traffic. You're going to be a little bit more eye level. Like next to me, as you'll see, is a Nissan Murano, and I'm pretty much on their same eye level, which is the size of a lot of other vehicles. So you're not going to feel low in traffic. You're not going to feel tiny in traffic, although it is a rather small footprint vehicle. Visibility is fine. Ride quality is good. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital gauge cluster. I think this is mostly good. It's relatively easy to read. The Sentra has a similar setup as well, and I like it. Lots of information you could cycle through as well if you want to know stuff about the car. Not really that special. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our volume selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as skip track, and off to the right, we have our adaptive cruise and phone options. Off to the left, we have a climate control vent, we have our heated steering wheel, steering assist, and our accent lighting on and off. Moving on to the door, we have our latch to get in and out, power locks, power mirrors, and power windows. Moving into the center, we get our infotainment display. This does have wireless Apple CarPlay and, of course, Android Auto. And it's nice. It works well. This is Nissan's standard system. You'll find the same system in the Frontier, the Armada, the Murano, the Sentra, the Leaf. And I like it. It's relatively simple to use. I don't have any complaints. But what I do like is the 360 camera. So it does have an available 360 camera at $35,000. That is wonderful. I recently drove the Volkswagen Atlas at $50,000, no 360 camera. I recently had a Dodge Durango Hellcat at $88,000, no 360 camera. So Nissan offers it down in the 30s, which is incredible. Down below that, we do have our volume, skip track, hazard switching camera button amongst 2 climate control vents. And we have our climate controls themselves. We do have our heated seats as well as single zone climate, fan speed. I don't really love this panel because it is piano black and it shows fingerprints super easily. I recently drove the Nissan Murano and it had this sort of wood grain texture for the climate controls. I much would have rather preferred that here in the Nissan Kicks. However, of course, that would have added to the price tag, which the whole name of the game is to keep it as low as possible here in the Kicks. Then we have two USB-Cs amongst a wireless charger. Off to the left, we have the start-stop button, power parking brake, and auto holding brake. And then we have the shifter in the center. A weird bit of orange in here. You see a couple little sprinklings of orange. Kind of feels a little bit out of place just because there's no other orange in my vision besides the stitching on the dash, but that's okay. And to the right of that, we do have our drive modes. So we have Sport, Standard, Eco, and Snow. And then we have our cup holders. We'll do a big friggin' bottle test, and the Kicks fails. We knew this from the start, but that's the reality. Then we do get a center console, a 12-volt outlet in the center, and the seats. The seats are Nissan's zero-gravity seats that are meant to help with posture as well as comfort. We have our Bose speakers in the headrests, which sound very good, and overall, it is a comfortable seating experience, especially down here at the $30,000 mark. These are definitely on the comfier side of vehicles in this segment. Are these Rolls-Royce couch cushion seats? No, but for the 30 grand sort of base level automobile pricing, these are very, very comfortable and definitely punch above their weight class. And again, I felt the similar way about the Sentra. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, getting in the back of the Nissan Kicks SR, and my knees are hitting the seat in front of me. It's not the most spacious back seat I've ever been in. As you can see, this probably gives you a little bit better of an idea, and this is my driving position. So, not wonderful, not the best that I've ever seen, but at this price point, you're gonna make some sacrifices, and the back seat is usually where that's made. If you have two kids, not the car for you. If you have grown adult children and you drive them all the time, not the car for you. These are back seats if you need them. It is nice to have a four-door if you have nieces, nephews in town, whatever it is. You can drive people around. It's going to be fine enough, but it's not going to be a very premium backseat experience, which, again, at this price point, should be expected. So there you go. Down here, we do have two USB-Cs, which are very, very nice, as well as we do have some fold-down cup holders in the center. Oh, and it actually says for safety to raise the headrests. Okay, good to know. I don't know if I've ever seen that that tag on anything, but there you go. We also get to enjoy the sunroof, which is very nice. But overall, the Kicks back seat is fine. It's fine, and it's fine. That's it. Let's hop into the back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. Right around the back of the Nissan Kicks SR, we do have a button here, and it is not a power-operated tailgate. However, it is not hard to open. These struts are pretty powerful, and they do a great job. Once we are back here, just like the back seats, nothing to really showboat about. We can pick up this cover. We do have some fix-a-flat and whatnot, but we do not actually get a spare tire. So, unfortunately, no spare tire here in the Nissan Kicks, which I think is a huge, huge miss. But coming around here, we can reopen the back seats, pull up on these plungers, and pull the seats down. They will fold flat, but you'll have to move the seats forward and whatnot. So you can fold the second row down if you need to fit larger objects in the back. Overall, not much more to tell you. Grab up here to close it and pull it down. That is a little bit harder than most to pull down. Just something to note if you do have arm or strength issues, might want to look into something else. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I really like the look of the Kicks. I think it looks modern and fresh without looking overly gaudy. You know, I sat through a couple presentations from Nissan when this vehicle launched, and they said they tried to make it resemble a athletic shoe and a football helmet, and to that I say, yeah, sure, okay. This is also finished in Glacier Ice. I love the color. I don't know if it's the right name. This more reminds me of the water that you see at Disney World at the rides and events like Pirates of the Caribbean. So, but I'm sure that was either copywritten or too long to put onto a window sticker, so Glacier Ice will have to do. I also adore these wheels. I love the wheels that Nissan put onto the Kicks. They really remind me of sort of the later model Nissan 370Z wheels. And so I think they look good and athletic. Like, I wouldn't expect it on a vehicle like this to have such good looking wheels. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Nissan Kicks? I think it's very good. I think it's worth the price tag. Up at $35,000, you lose me a little bit, but you could find these in the high 20s and low 30s, which I think suits this vehicle a lot better. Of course, the press cars that I get are always going to be the most spec'd out, most expensive versions of said vehicles, so it's to be expected that this would be on sort of that upper limit of price. I think it's a pretty competent product. It drives well, handles well, easy to get in and out of, of not hard on the eyes. Decent features. I love the 360 camera. I love the heated steering wheel and heated seats. Overall, it's very, very competent. But I do raise a question. Is Nissan on their way back to glory? As we know, the last 2 decades haven't been their stellar years for the Nissan brand. And there's many reasons that we could go into because of that. But much like how I treat addiction or illnesses or whatever, the why doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter if you got your cold when you were at the store or at work. The truth of the matter is that you got a cold, so let's focus on getting better. And Nissan has been focusing on getting better. I think a lot of their recent products have been very good. I like the Nissan Leaf a lot. It's a good, solid entry-level EV. I love the Armada, especially in the Pro 4X trim level. I think it's wonderful and probably my favorite full-size SUV currently on the market, of course, excluding the Durango Hellcat and Escalade V with their supercharged V8s. Those are in a league of their own. In terms of like regular person or sane person purchases, I think the Armada is my favorite. The Frontier is good. You can still get it with a V6. It only comes with a V6, where the Tacoma has dropped to a 4-cylinder turbo hybrid, so I like that about it. The Sentra is fantastic. I recently took one to Nashville and back, and I loved the drive in it either way. It was great. I think the Murano's pretty competent. They recently went away from the CVT for that vehicle, so that's a big upside. And the Nissan Z is fantastic. I really like it more than the Toyota Supra. I just enjoy driving the Z better. So with all of those upsides, it seems like Nissan is on their way back, and it's true. They are, but it is going to take time. And so people still say to me, oh, Nissans are so unreliable. They're not good cars, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'd have to say in the 2010s, they weren't stellar. For sure. They weren't great. But I think now they do have really good products under their belts. It's time for them to show us their reliability and the strides that they've made over the next couple of years, mainly with the 2021, 2022, and 2023 models. Trust is built over decades. And again, any problem that I face in my normal life, I always look at how long it took for that problem to be formed, and that should tell me how long it will take to solve it. Nissan's problems were over years and years and years of mismanagement and financial issues and X, Y, or Z. So it is going to take years and years and years to fix. And I think they're well on their way. What I have in front of me is the Nissan Kicks, and it is very good. For the task that it sets out to accomplish, it gets 2 thumbs up with flying colors. And that, to me, is very important, and I think it's good for you to know when you walk into the dealership. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Nissan for letting me borrow their Nissan Kicks SR for the last week. Huge thank you to G. Schmitz for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this vehicle. And of course, the Midwest Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.